Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night, not because of a sound or pain or a bad dream, but just awake? The room is still, the house is quiet, but something inside you stirs. You check the clock. It's 3:11 a.m. again. And even though your body longs to drift back into sleep, your mind lingers somewhere between memory and wondering. You lie there with your thoughts, wondering why the night feels so much heavier than it used to. Maybe you've started noticing it's harder to fall asleep in the first place, or that you wake up much earlier than you used to, hours before the sun, with no particular reason. And when the sleep finally comes, it feels lighter, more fragile, like you're never fully resting, only dipping in and out of dreams that feel more like reflections than stories. You might tell yourself it's just age, just a phase. You might even laugh about it in the morning, brushing it off as another sleepless night. But somewhere deep down, you feel the truth settling in like dust in sunlight, that something is shifting, that your sleep is no longer just about rest. It's becoming a mirror, a quiet reflection of the changes happening within. As a doctor who sat beside many older adults in their final seasons of life, I've learned to listen not just to what they say, but to how they sleep. Because often the final year begins not with symptoms or diagnoses, but with patterns. And sleep, so overlooked, so ordinary, is often where those patterns first whisper their quiet warnings. This video isn't about fear. It's not about countdowns or predictions. It's about awareness, about noticing what your body may be trying to tell you in the most gentle, intimate way it can, through rest, or rather, the loss of it. Because when sleep begins to change, not just for a night, but over time, it can signal something deeper, a shift in the nervous system, a quiet message from the brain, the heart, or even the spirit. And if we learn to pay attention, we can begin to respond with grace, with presence, with peace. In just a moment, I'll walk you through one of the first of these sleep changes. It's a pattern I've seen again and again. And once you recognize it, you may begin to see your own rest, or lack of it, in a whole new light. If this video resonates with you, I invite you to stay. Like it if it brings you clarity. Leave a comment if you felt these changes in your own nights. Subscribe if you'd like to hear more conversations like this. Gentle, honest, from one human heart to another. Let's begin. Slowly, quietly, with the truth that lives in the silence between each breath. It often begins with something that seems harmless at first. Waking up at the same time every night, somewhere between 2 and 4 in the morning. You roll over expecting to fall back asleep, but sleep doesn't come. Instead, you lie there in a kind of quiet alertness. Not anxious, not afraid, just awake. Fully awake, even though the world around you is still sleeping. At first, you might think it's just a one-time thing. Maybe you had too much tea before bed. Maybe the room was too warm. Maybe a dream pulled you out of rest. But when it happens again the next night, and then the next, something inside begins to notice the pattern. That this isn't just about a restless evening. This is something your body's doing on its own. It's becoming a rhythm. For many older adults, this early morning wakefulness is one of the first sleep changes that mark a deeper shift in the body's internal clock. It's not random. It's not meaningless. It's often the nervous system adapting to something it doesn't yet have words for. A quiet preparation, a softening of the edge between day and night, between activity and reflection, between life as it was and life as it's becoming. I once sat beside a woman in her 70s who said, "I don't mind waking up at 3 a.m. anymore. I've started using that time to talk to God." There was something so calm in the way she said it. She wasn't resisting the change. She was letting it carry her into a more sacred kind of stillness. And maybe that's what this is, a door opening, not closing. A moment of presence offered in the most unexpected hour. But of course, not everyone experiences it with such peace at first. Waking up in the middle of the night can bring confusion, frustration, even fear. The mind wanders. The silence feels heavy. Old memories surface. And sometimes so do old regrets. It can be a time when the heart feels exposed, open to questions that we manage to avoid during the day. Have I said what I needed to say? Did I live the way I was meant to live? Is there still time? These are not easy thoughts, but they are honest ones. And in this strange, quiet hour of wakefulness, the soul often finds the space to ask them, not to judge, not to shame, but to understand, to soften, to let go. If this kind of early morning waking has become part of your life, I want you to know, you're not alone. You're not broken. You're not failing. You're simply entering a new rhythm, a rhythm that many people in their final seasons share, a rhythm that invites you to listen, not with fear, but with tenderness. Let this quiet hour become a companion, not an enemy. Light a candle, sit by the window, breathe slowly. Let your thoughts rise and fall like the tide. And if nothing else, let your body feel safe again in its own timing. Soon we'll explore another shift that often follows this one. A change not in when you wake, but in how you fall asleep. Or rather, how difficult it slowly becomes to do so. It's a pattern that carries a message, and learning to hear it may bring you more peace than you imagined possible. Stay with me. We'll walk through it together. There's a moment, usually sometime after dusk has settled, when you know it's time to lie down. The room is dim, the house is quiet, your body is tired, but your mind isn't ready to let go. You slip beneath the covers, shift once or twice to find a comfortable position, close your eyes and wait. 5 minutes pass, then 10, then 20. Sleep doesn't come. You try adjusting your pillow, changing positions, maybe even getting up for a glass of water. But still, when you return to bed, something feels off. Not uncomfortable exactly, just restless. As if part of you doesn't want to surrender fully to sleep. As if there's something your body or spirit is holding on to in the dark. This difficulty falling asleep is something I've seen quietly unfold in many of my older patients, especially those nearing the final season of life. It's not the insomnia of youth, full of racing thoughts or stress about tomorrow. It's a gentler kind of resistance, a quiet pause before letting go, as if the body is asking for more time to process the day or the years behind it, as if part of you wants to stay awake just a little longer, not because you fear what's coming, but because you want to be present for what remains. There's no need to fight this. It's not a flaw in your sleep cycle. It's not something you failed to fix. It may, in fact, be one of the deepest signs that your body is moving into a different rhythm, one that values reflection over efficiency, presence over productivity. I remember a gentleman who told me, "The nights are longer now and I don't mind it. I just lie there and think about my wife, about the trip we never took, about the things I would say differently now." There was no bitterness in his voice, just a stillness, a reverence. A man making peace with his own story while the world slept around him. If you're lying awake more often these days, don't rush to label it a problem. It might be an invitation, a time to feel without distraction, to revisit old memories with softness, to talk to someone you miss, even if only in your heart, or simply to be still with yourself without expectation. And if sleep does eventually come, and it usually does, it often comes in waves, shorter, lighter, more delicate, as if the body is beginning to let go of the need for deep, extended rest, and instead choosing smaller moments of recovery, like a soul learning to live in smaller breaths. So tonight, if you find yourself staring at the ceiling while the rest of the world sleeps, place your hand gently on your chest. Feel your heart still beating, steady and kind. Know that you are allowed to be exactly where you are, awake, aware, alive. What comes next is a change many don't notice until it's already become part of their days. It's not about when you wake or how you fall asleep, but how sleep itself becomes something different, less restoring, less complete. A new kind of rest, half in this world, half somewhere beyond. And in that space, something sacred begins to unfold. I'll meet you there soon. There comes a time when sleep begins to feel less like escape and more like a visit. You lie down, eyes closed, and drift, not into deep, dreamless rest, but into something lighter. You sleep, yes, but it's shallow, fragile, like a feather resting on water. Any small sound stirs you. Any shift in the wind feels like a whisper in your ear. You wake more than once, not startled, just gently nudged back into the world again and again. And when morning comes, it doesn't feel like morning used to. You've slept technically, but you're still tired. Not the kind of tired that begs for coffee or a nap, but the kind that settles into the bones. A soft fatigue, as though your body's no longer resting to repair, but simply existing in a quieter state. For many people in their final year of life, this light, broken sleep becomes the new normal. It doesn't always bring distress. Sometimes it brings a strange kind of peace, a rhythm that matches the slow retreat of the body from the urgency of the world. The body is no longer investing its deepest energies in recovery. It's conserving, it's preparing, it's releasing, little by little. This pattern often goes unnoticed at first. You tell yourself it was just a rough night, maybe two. But over time, the cycle continues. Rest comes in smaller portions. You sleep in pockets, an hour here, two there, never quite dipping into the deep, nourishing slumber you once knew. And yet, your days go on. You still smile, you still speak, you still notice the light changing outside your window, but inside something quieter is happening. I spoke once with a woman in her early 90s who said, "Sleep doesn't hold me the way it used to. I just float in it now." Her words struck me, not just because of their poetry, but because of their truth. It was exactly that, a floating. Not falling, not plunging, just drifting on the edge of rest. As if sleep had become a conversation, not a command. This kind of sleep doesn't need to be feared. It's not a failure of the body. It's a sign that the body is doing exactly what it knows how to do. Easing away from effort, releasing from the demands of full recovery, choosing instead to stay partially present. Not fully here, not fully gone, just resting in the in-between. If you're finding your nights marked by this kind of shallow sleep, give yourself grace. Don't judge your rest by the old standards. You're not here to chase productivity anymore. You're here to be, to feel, to move at the pace that your soul now chooses. You may notice that during these quiet nights, new thoughts come more clearly. Not rushed, not loud, but meaningful. You might find yourself remembering a face from decades ago, or suddenly understanding something you never quite saw before. There's a wisdom that visits us when we are half asleep and half awake, a softness that makes space for peace. Soon we'll talk about how to respond to these sleep changes, not with medication or fear, but with gentle ritual, with comfort, with compassion. Because when sleep no longer follows old rules, we must learn to create new ones that fit this slower, wiser rhythm of life. And in doing so, we begin to find rest in new ways. Stay with me. We'll arrive there together. So what do we do when sleep no longer arrives as it once did? When the night feels long, the body feels tired, but the kind of rest we remember slips further out of reach? The answer isn't found in forcing sleep to return or in fighting the rhythm our body has now adopted. The answer, perhaps, is in learning to meet this new rhythm with kindness, not control. In this stage of life, sleep becomes less about resetting the body and more about soothing the spirit. The rituals that once felt ordinary, brushing your teeth, folding the blanket at the end of the bed, sipping warm tea, begin to take on new meaning. They become signals, gentle reminders that this time is still yours, that even as sleep changes, you are still held in something steady, something sacred. Instead of chasing 8 uninterrupted hours, you begin to embrace rest wherever it comes. A nap in the afternoon sunlight, a soft doze in the chair after dinner, 10 quiet minutes before dawn with your eyes closed, simply breathing. These moments, small as they seem, are no less meaningful than the deep sleep of younger days. In fact, they may carry something even more powerful: presence. Presence is the kind of rest no mattress can offer. It's the feeling of being truly in your body, truly in your moment, without pressure to be anywhere else. When you stop demanding from your rest and start welcoming it, something inside you softens. You begin to listen differently. You begin to receive the night as a companion, not a challenge. There are ways to invite peace into your evenings. Not solutions, but offerings. Dim the lights earlier. Let the house grow quiet around you, like dusk settling on a lake. Light a candle. Play music that reminds you of your younger self. Talk softly to someone you love or to yourself. Let the rituals of winding down become less about sleep and more about soothing your own heart. And if you lie awake, don't rush to fill the silence. Let the silence fill you. Let the memories come. Let the questions rise. Let the breath move slowly through your chest. This too is rest. This too is part of the closing chapter, the one where the soul begins to speak a little more clearly, because there's finally space to be heard. I once sat with an elderly man who said, "Some nights I don't sleep at all, but I think I understand my life better in those hours than I ever did when I was busy living it." That kind of wisdom doesn't come with age alone. It comes with stillness, with slowness, with learning to let the night teach you something that the day never had time for. And as we begin to close this reflection, I want to offer you this. These sleep changes, whether they've arrived quietly or suddenly, are not here to harm you. They are here to invite you to pause, to listen, to be more fully alive in your own unfolding. Stay close for just a moment more, because before we part, I want to leave you not just with awareness, but with hope. Hope that even in the quiet changes of sleep, there is beauty, there is presence, there is peace. We'll finish together gently.